Hi guys, and welcome to round number 5 of the European Chess Championship. And yeah, it's already 2:40 now, so the game is about to start in 20 minutes. I still need to get dressed. I just finished my preparation, and yeah, other than that, I feel ready for the game. Today I'm playing against Aleksandar Indjic from Serbia, who has been a 2600 player for many years. And today it's gonna be a tough game, I'm sure, because he's quite a fighting player and he always goes for complications. He's playing very fast as well. He's a very practical player, and yeah, I really need to watch my time management today, not to get into time trouble. Otherwise, it really is gonna be bad news. So today I am gonna play fast. I am gonna play confidently. I told that to myself yesterday when I went to bed. I spoke to myself, said, Felix, you're gonna play fast and confidently tomorrow. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do today. And other than that, yeah, I have the white pieces. I'm gonna go knight f3 on the first move once again, and just stay flexible and solid in the opening. If I would start with d4, I would allow him the Benoni, which he plays very often, which is not that great, but he has a lot of experience there, so I don't really want to give him that chance. And yeah, I don't exactly know what to expect. If he goes knight f3 d5, I'm gonna go d4 and gonna play the Catalan. And if he goes knight f3 c5, it's gonna be some sort of English. So yeah, let's see how it goes. And I'm gonna see you after the game in the recap, hopefully with good news. So see you then.
So welcome guys to the recap of round number 5. I just finished my game and I lost pretty quickly today with the white pieces against Aleksandar Indjic. And as I expected, he went for the full attack, and unfortunately it worked out because I made quite a bad blunder, as we will see in the game. So I started out with knight f3, knight f6, c4, and he went for b6, which surprised me a little bit. Usually he doesn't go for the queenside fianchetto, and after g3, c5, bishop g2, bishop e7, short castle, he went for g6, not e6. e6, probably the main move, when white often then goes for this sort of hedgehog structure, which is also fully playable for black, even though white is usually a little bit better because of the space advantage after white sooner or later plays e4. But my opponent went g6, knight c3, bishop g7, and here I played rook e1, which is actually what I also recommend in my course, in my one knight f3 course for Chessbase, which should, by the way, come out in a couple of days. As far as I'm informed, I will let you guys definitely know once it comes on the market. So rook e1 is the move I also recommended. Of course, losing this game is not the best advertisement, but I had a good chance to have a good advantage. The point of rook e1 is just that I want to push e4 and then later on push d4 as well. Because if I go d4 right away, then after c takes d4, knight takes d4, if black manages to exchange these bishops, it's pretty okay for him. I think maybe even h5 is an idea here, but the more slower short castle should also be fine for black, something like e4, d6. Some Marozzi bind here, but also looks pretty solid for black. But yeah, rook e1 is my suggestion. And he went for d6, which, yeah, I didn't recall analyzing. The main line is knight e4. And after knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, now d4. And there's actually one very nice point after c takes d4. White has one move to have a slight advantage here, which is bishop h6. And the point is, if black takes now, queen takes d4, short castle, queen takes e4, black has to go knight c6, and computer gives around equal here, but I still think that white is a little bit better, just because the light square bishop is a bit better than the dark square bishop, and yeah, white has very easy play here, something like rook d1, or maybe the other one, and then double on the d file. Maybe I have some play on the king side as well. So I would have been happy to have this position. But he went for d6, I went e4. In hindsight, maybe d4, what I considered would also be an option. Now I thought cd4, knight takes d4, bishop g2, king g2, when again we reached some position like we saw earlier, which I felt should be also alright for black. I saw that even h5 could probably be an option for black, just trying to start an attack here as well. But I went for e4, it looked logical, and now I'm finally ready to play d4. If black goes something like short castle, then after d4, cd4, knight d4, if both bishops are still on the board, it mostly favors white, since black has less space than white here, and usually the side that has more space wants to keep as many pieces on the board as possible. But my opponent went for e5, and here I quickly went d3, which looked like the most logical move, but actually here I had a very nice chance, which I don't remember checking, but maybe at some point I even prepared it. But the move here is d4, when black has to be actually very, very careful, but I just didn't consider it at all. It does make sense because the king is still on e8, and black actually should not take on d4 with either of the pawns. Let's say c takes d4, the point is knight takes d4, and he cannot take back because of e5 when everything is opening up, and the king on e8 is in big trouble, and white is just winning the game here on the spot. So after d4, black would have to go knight c6, but after d takes e5, now d takes e5, knight d5, short castle, bishop g5, white is just playing for 2 results here, basically. Black has to be very careful not to be under a lot of trouble already. I think the computer gave h6 here, which is already a bit strange. Black is just giving up the pawn here and somehow is playing for compensation. Bishop g7 was the move, I think. And or maybe trade queens first. I'm not sure how it was. I think bishop g7. And if white takes, probably black has enough compensation because the d4 square is now weak and white has the bad bishop. But I think the computer gave something like bishop d2. When, for a human, it doesn't look clear at all why black should have full compensation here. Maybe he has some compensation, but definitely white is pressing here. But I went d3 pretty quickly. Here in the opening stage, I still had in mind that I really wanted to play fast in this game. But yeah, now, of course, in hindsight, it would have made sense to maybe think a little bit here, and then maybe I would have figured out that d4 is a possibility. But I went d3, short castle, a3, and this just seemed like a very logical plan here. I just want to go rook b1 and then b4. And I still felt like I have somewhat of a better position, but it's probably just around equal. I felt like the bishop on b7 is just misplaced, but the position is so close that black has enough time to reroute the bishop as he did later in the game. He went a5 to stop b4. I thought that was sensible. Now I went bishop d2. Just a normal developing move, bishop c8, and now he's bringing around the bishop, possibly to e6 or sometimes to g4 as well. Here went knight b5. Of course, one option. Knight d5 was also something I always considered, but some position like this here, both ed and cd were both options. But in general, I thought that black has pretty easy play. I thought knight d7 is even possible here. When after something like this, black always has some ideas with f5, maybe later, maybe h6, and then just to prepare f5. So I didn't want to allow that. So I just went knight b5 and then to prepare b4. But after bishop e6, now I didn't go b4, which I probably should have went for this. During the game, I thought that after takes, if he takes everything here, I'm in a bit of danger. If he gets knight d7, this was the move I was thinking about. But the computer says it's at least equal for white, something like queen d2, and I already have some ideas with knight g5 maybe. And the pawn on b6 is a weakness. I thought that black will have some active play with f5, but I guess the pawn on b6, the weakness of the pawn on b6 is just more important, and I can just double my rooks, go back with the knight, and it actually looks like I have a nice position here. The computer gave something like h6 here, just not to take here, and after I take, he takes, the position is just that equal, and most likely I wouldn't lose it. But I just went h3, just to have bishop g4 out of the picture, and now he surprised me by going queen d7, because it does allow me to win the bishop pair with knight g5. But actually, it was a very interesting decision by him to go queen d7. I was thinking that he would probably go h6 when I was intending to play very slowly with queen c1, king h7, and something like king h2 here, when I thought the position is still equal, but it looked more sensible. I mean, at least I would have played like this with the black pieces, just h6. But he went queen d7, knight g5, and he went for this structure now, which is actually quite interesting. At first, I thought this is like a complete coffee house way of playing, because I have the light square bishop, and maybe this pawn on e6 is a long-term target, but yeah, for now, black has actually a pretty easy plan, which is to go h5, king h7, then bishop h6 to exchange my bishop on d2. I went for b4 just to have some counterplay. Otherwise, maybe he could also go a4 himself at some point to fix my structure on the queen side. So b4 he took, and now he went h5. And here was actually, it was pretty difficult for me to find a sensible plan, because his plan is just to go king h7, bishop h6, and then in the long run I could have some issues on the dark squares. So I went queen b3, probably already a step into the wrong direction. Maybe I should have just taken and go bishop e3. Pawn on d3 I can always defend with bishop f1, and the position is still around equal according to the computer, but it already looks a bit easier for black to play possibly. So I went queen b3. My point was after king h7 I go rook e1, and after bishop h6 bishop e1, not to exchange this this bishop, and still to protect the pawn on b4. He went h4 and I went rook a1. I wanted to exchange these rooks if possible. If all of the heavy pieces disappear, I thought I'm in no danger at all. But he went king g7, which was interesting. And here I already sensed that at some point one rook could appear on the h file, giving me trouble, giving my king some trouble. In general, this position already, king on g1 is somewhat alone. So I should have maybe thought about bringing my queen around again to limit his counterplay, or to limit his attack on the king side. I went king h2, where the king is actually pretty misplaced. King h1 would have been way better. As we will see later, king on h2 is somewhat of a target. I went king h2, he took on g3, now bishop e3, and here I took on c5, and I was actually pretty happy here at this point. But then my opponent thought for a bit and went knight g4 check, and I don't know what was wrong with me here. I just spent 1 minute and just took on g4, and now the game is basically just over. I think I was just thinking at this point, if it's mate, it's mate, and he played a beautiful game. But of course, I just cannot think like this in such an important game. If I draw the game, I'm in a full race for the World Cup, and now that I lost, I still now have to fight to get back to the top. So this was just a big mistake. And of course, I have to say that I didn't go for go right into his mating attack. Of course, I missed his idea, but if I would have spent some time here, I would probably have seen it. And the funny thing is that if I go just king h1 back, the game is far from over. Black is a little bit better, but there's no, like, it's not clear at all that I would actually lose the game. Computer gives minus 0.3, so that was just ridiculous to take on g4 that fast. After king h1, now he should probably take on c5 with the bishop, and I can never take on g4, as we will see later in the game. But now something like rook takes a8, rook takes a8, and something like, I don't know, I think queen b2 was one logical move, or rook b1 first, and after knight e3, queen b2, my queen comes around to e2 again, and the position is around balanced. Black maybe has the easier play with all his active pieces, but it's far from over here. But I took a g4, and what I missed was after rook h8 check, bishop h3, that he has queen f7, and I'm just helpless against his attack here. His threat is queen f1, and there's nothing I can do about it. If I go king g2, then he has rook f8, when either queen f3 or queen f1 will decide the game. So I took on a8, now queen f1 important. If rook takes h3, I thought still I survive. If king g2, maybe I'm even winning. Not to take on h3, since then queen f1 would be checkmate. But yeah, I thought that king g2, when I didn't really see for him how to finish the attack off. Maybe even now that I think about it, maybe rook h1 even here wins. But yeah, he went for queen f1, which is even more accurate. And after rook takes h8, I allowed the checkmate, and after queen g1, I resigned, because yeah, there's nothing I can do anymore. So yeah, pretty disappointed, especially with this moment. I don't know what got into me. Just to take this without even thinking is pretty ridiculous. And yeah, that's all I have to say. In the opening, I'm really a bit annoyed that I did not see this idea with d4, since yeah, I just get a very pleasant game here. But yeah, there's nothing I can do now. The tournament, of course, isn't finished yet. It's not even at the half point. Tomorrow is the round 6, and after round 6 we will have a rest day, which I'm already quite looking forward to, I have to admit, especially after this game. But yeah, sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not so lucky. Yesterday I had the luck, today was a bad day, so it happens. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support you're always showing me in the comments. And I hope you enjoyed today's recap. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Other than that, take care and see you tomorrow.